to In the Blue with Facebook Live. We're excited today to be here with our special guest, Darren Kaberna with Amplify Your Practice. If you're with us a month or two ago, you'll remember that Darren had joined us and did a fantastic job. In fact, we had so many requests from our viewer base that we had to have him back. So, Darren, thanks for making the time to be here with us.
Well, you know, anytime the viewer base expects it, you just got to come.
Exactly. You're setting a standard, man. You got to live up to it today.
Totally. I'll try.
Well, for those of you just joining us new, Darren runs Amplify My Practice, which is an ultra successful dental consulting practice management group. He's got several consultants that works under him and with him. They manage hundreds of dental practices around the country. He is a national speaker, and he does such a great job connecting with his audience because one of his specialties is really understanding human behavior and the human mind, the way your patients think. And that's one of the secrets in where he's helping take practices from pretty small case presentations to a lot bigger case presentations and dramatically increasing case acceptance. And he does that by helping the team really understand the patient psychology, how they're thinking, what they're thinking, and why they're thinking it. Darren, just give us a quick background on how that became such a passionate thing for you and how you became so good at it.
Well, you know, it starts as many things do with a personal story. And the personal story for myself was my wife and I, we drove our marriage off a cliff, sadly. And through the process of trying to rehab and restart our marriage, we went through this thing called a marital intensive, which if you've never been through one, it's 4 days of marital counseling, 8 hours a day. It is insane. But wow. Through that process, through then a lot of other training with NLP, we were able to put our marriage back together, in fact, make it better than it was before, which was awesome. And it's a really exciting process, humbling, of course, but a really exciting process. So all we did was take all of those tools that we learned through marital counseling, through Tony Robbins, through 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, through all these various resources, compile them, and then make them specific and unique to dentistry. Because really, if you think about any relationship, whether it's a marriage, it's a friendship, it's a patient, it's an employee, it's all about understanding how each other thinks and then being able to connect. And that was obviously why our marriage had gotten all wonky, was because we weren't doing those things.
Yeah.
So universal lessons that were able to function in many, many places and work very, very effectively in dentistry and in practices and in helping the practice connect with their patients.
I love that. And thank you for sharing that with us because, you know, sharing personal stuff is not always, it's brave to tell people that my marriage sucked. And, but the fact you got it back online is such kudos to you and shares with our audience the kind of man you are because so many marriages fail. And the fact that you guys are still together and your marriage is better than ever and you guys are a partnership, this is a man worth listening to. And I think that's why our audience voted you back because they see that and they felt that from our last presentation. So today we're really getting into this demystifying patient psychology and super excited to hear and have that deeper understanding. I want to welcome Joseph Stith to the show. You'll see he just jumped on. Joseph, thanks for making it. We had a little technical difficulty getting him on as we're using a whole new platform for this presentation. So if you like this presentation, please let us know because this is a new platform that we're using today. So pretty excited about it. So Joseph,
glad to be here, Cory.
Thanks for joining us. All right, Darren, take it away.
Well, you know, it's funny how people make decisions, and I think about all the distractions in life that people have. You know, it's funny because we were actually scheduled to do this broadcast a while ago, but technical problems got us in trouble. And the irony of that particular day, if we had done the same presentation, was I was supposed to be taking my son to a speech meet. So I actually was going to be driving up early, trying to find a park, a Starbucks, or something where I could sit down, do this in a car or somewhere where there would be, you know, good connection for internet speed, and then, you know, duct tape my son in the back seat so he'd be quiet. Kidding, of course. But it's such a good metaphor for how people are so distracted and how our attention is everywhere else, but often where we are. Hence why, of course, again, my marriage fell apart because I was distracted by life. So distraction costs our businesses a fortune, whether it's employees or patients. And the challenge becomes, how do we capture people's attention? We know how media does it. Big TV does it. They use sex or free or something like that in order to grab your attention, interrupt your attention, and then hopefully there's enough value to follow it. Now, I'm not going to suggest that we do those things in our dental offices because I just don't agree with it personally. Right. But how else can we get people's attention? Because to me, the two easiest cases to get accepted, the first one is when the patient comes in, their face is blown up and they're in pain, and they want to avoid pain. The second easiest case to get accepted is the patient who's coming looking for a cosmetic makeover because they know it's expensive. They want it because they want to gain the pleasure of looking younger, looking different, looking something. So avoiding pain or gaining pleasure are the two main reasons why people make any decision. Now, the challenge is, as a clinician, you go in to do a hygiene exam and you now tell a patient that they need $3,000 or $4,000 or $5,000 of dentistry they didn't even expect. It's nowhere on the wish list until you tell them. And now the problem is, well, you know, my computer's not working good, so I was thinking about a new computer. My truck's got a problem, so I was wanting a new truck. I actually want to take a vacation because I want to stay married now. And so I have all these other things, and then I got to go, you know, shopping for my kids for stuff, and it's a birthday, and it's a this, and this. Ah! And people just lose their minds with stress and anxiety, and all this time you're sitting there telling them what they need.
Yeah.
And they are in la-la land, not hearing half of what you're saying, and thus not connecting to it. So at the end, you say, hey, what do you want to do? And they go, well, you know, let me think about it. Let me think about it translates to me of, I have no idea what you just said. You lost me at hello, so to speak. And now I'm somewhere else, and you've kept going on and on and on and on. And what's the price? How much? Are you kidding me? There is no way. So they have to come back now at their next 6 months recall to hear it again, and then maybe say the same thing, and then to hear it again. And maybe after 2 or 3 repetitions, they actually accept the treatment. But now the problem is that MOD is now a root canal and a crown or something bigger and more expensive, and they're in pain.
Yeah.
And we lost the opportunity.
That
so
is so accurate.
The question becomes, how do we interrupt their patterns, their thought patterns, so we can get their attention? And to me, the key of that is absolutely and always questions. I mean, even sitting here right now, your viewers are listening, and you know, maybe at first they're thinking, who is this guy? He talks really, really fast. He's had way too much caffeine. Maybe he's on cocaine. I don't know what he's on, but he talks really, really fast. And so they're asking themselves questions that are either empowering the conversation we're having, or they're depowering the conversation we're having, depending on which slant they have. But questions are the key. So the way to use this in an office is, how can we get engagement? How can we use questions to have a patient become involved in their diagnosis, in what's going on with their circumstance, as opposed to them thinking about whatever's on their mind? Because for all we know, they just got served with divorce papers, or they're worried about their marital intensive upcoming and they're scared to death of it. Or, you know, I just read a friend of mine on Facebook got the call no one ever wants to get, that their daughter was in a car accident last night. Thankfully, everything's okay. But, you know, we all are faced with so many distractions in life. And then sadly, when the patient doesn't accept treatment, we get all upset and we assume it's us, and they don't trust us, or they don't like us, or who knows what it is, and we make it some personal thing, and the reality is it has nothing to do with us.
Right.
Nothing at all. So how can you develop more rapport with your patient? What can you do to build that rapport so you have that emotional connection, not only to you and your practice, but more importantly, to their treatment, to what's coming up for them in their life? And questions are the key.
And is this coming from the doctor? Is this coming from the chairside assistant? Is this coming from a case presenter? Like, where do you recommend this, we connect the dots to help this patient through this journey?
All the above, really. To me, it's all about preparation even. To me, it's all about what do we do in the huddle long before the patient ever sets foot in the practice. To me, it's all about the data we collect long before the huddle. I mean, imagine a scenario where one of the teammates is confirming an appointment. They hear a screaming baby in the background. They go, hey, what's going on? And the mother in this scenario says, oh, my baby's teething. And they make mental note. They put it in the chart. And then in the huddle, they go, hey, doctor, Susie's baby is teething. You might want to ask about it. Preparation's the key. So now doctor walks in and says, hey, I hear your baby's teething. Now Susie's like, how in the world do you know this? You just blew her mind. You completely derailed all of her neurology. She is now focused on you. You have her undivided attention because of preparation.
Love it.
Preparation is the key for everything in life.
Yeah.
Sometimes people see me speak and they're like, man, it looks like you don't prep at all. You just start talking and blah, blah, blah. And so then they try and duplicate it by just winging it. And the difference is, I don't realize I have years and years and years and years and years of preparation that allows me to look like I'm winging it, but I am definitely not winging it. I have done hours. And I mean, we've all heard about the 10,000 hour rule, right? It takes 10,000 hours to master anything. Yeah. About 5 years of constant practice and development. Well, guess what? I'm past 5 years. So it's not that I'm not prepping. It's just I have prepped and prepped and prepped for so many years that I can make it look like this. Now, and dentists understand this intuitively with their clinical skills because they've practiced and practiced and practiced. And you talk to any dentist who's 20 years out, they'll say, man, the first 5 years, I didn't know what I was doing. I look back at my dentistry the first 5 years, I'm like, it was terrible. It was horrible, but now it's really good. Yeah, it's because you passed 5 years. You've practiced. And the same is true when it comes to case presentation. It's not that it has to take 5 years, but we have to be diligent and put forth effort. We can't just wing it. If we do, we'll do okay. But if we want to do exceptionally, we won't do exceptionally by winging it. We'll do it by preparation.
So
Darren,
go ahead, Joseph.
I've heard it said that the individual that's asking the questions is ultimately in control, and that's certainly true in a sales setting. Aside from the preparation, what type of questions then do you teach that will engage the patient on a level where they are sharing the very information the team needs to get their attention and engage?
I'll give you an example. We had a lady contact us recently who had some birth defect, really, relative to her dentistry, and she's now in her mid-50s, had a huge case done 20-some years ago, and it's starting to fall apart. And so she contacted us looking for us for advice, and in the process, I decided to do something like this and record an interview with her. And I wanted to record it because I wanted to record it as if it's a fresh conversation. I've never discussed her case with her, and I wanted people to see her facial reaction. And all I did was ask a few simple questions. When's the last time you ate steak? When's the last time you bit into an apple? And you should have seen the look on her face. You know what the answer was to the last time she had steak? High school. She's in her late 50s. And of course, the minute I hear that, it's not just the first question, it's the follow-up questions, the subsequent questions that are most powerful. I'm looking at her going, because she thought for sure there's no way she could afford it. She knows she needs $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 of dentistry, and she's like, I can't afford it. You know, she works as a pastor in a church, and she doesn't make enough money to be able to afford it. So she's like, there's no way. And so in developing value, all I did was say, hey, Jan, how nice would it be to be able to chew food again? How much would that mean to you? And she got all emotional, started telling a story about how, you know, her family this and people had pressured her in this area and all these various components that really connected her emotionally to her diagnosis. And I'm not even a clinician. I'm not even telling her what she needs. I'm just going with what she thought it was. And then in the process of doing that, I had Katie on my team joining me, and I said, hey, can you do a calculator on Care Credit and see what the monthly payment is? And all of a sudden we came back and we said, hey, you know what? It's only going to be $700 a month. And she goes, oh, I think I could maybe afford. I mean, it'd be a little bit of a stretch, but I could maybe afford that. And we said, you know, what other treatment options did they give you? She goes, well, they gave me this Ferrari solution, if you will, the best. And then they gave me the second best. And I said, well, how much was the second best? She was like $20,000. I said, Katie, how much is the payment on that? She goes, about $400. She goes, oh, I could do that. So she went from reaching out to a random source like us to look for help and elicit help, thinking there's no way. And yet she wouldn't accept GoFundMe because we offered to put a GoFundMe together because she's like, there's better purposes for this than my team.
Wow.
Which is amazing to hear.
Mm-hmm.
And yet she's sitting there going, there's no way I can afford it. And then when we broke it down, we gave her options that I didn't even know what the options were. And then we gave her payment options, and we connected those emotionally to her future. I even went so far as I said, Jan, why don't you like what you have? She goes, I'm really worried that this appliance is going to fall out of my mouth and scare the kids. She was a children's pastor. She goes, it happened one day. It terrified, I don't know if it terrified them, but it terrified me. And I said, well, what would you do if you had all this fixed and you could be confident? She goes, oh man, I could change lives. She goes, I've been wanting to write a book about the Christmas story, the real Christmas story, and for children, and it could change.
Wow.
It could do this, and she got all excited, and all of a sudden she started seeing a bright future.
Mm-hmm.
When you see a bright future, you become very motivated to do things.
That's the amazing thing about dentistry, is that it literally can change people's lives beyond almost anything you can think of. When we have the difference between the pain and wanting that resolve that you were speaking of, dentistry can change people's lives. And
not only hers, but how many children's lives?
Exactly.
I don't want to go down the road of what you believe and what you don't believe, but regardless, if she's making the assumption she's doing amazing things for people and amazing things for children, how many extra people can that one dentist touch by helping her out?
And it all came back to the questions. The right questions unlocked that secret that she wanted all along, but didn't know how to achieve that.
Yes.
That's a great example. And
it gave her the intrinsic internal drive to find a way. Mm-hmm. And I can tell you now, we recorded this, I don't know, month and a half ago. She has since done her case.
Really?
I haven't seen it yet. I haven't talked to her. I asked her to commit to me that she'd come back on and let me interview her again, because I want to see the big smile. Mm. And then I'm going to follow her in 6 months, a year, and I'm going to ask her about the book. Mm. And I want to ask her about the lives she's touching. I want to make it go full circle. But it is all about the questions and helping people see the bigger picture. It's not just a tooth. It's not just an arch. It's your smile, it's your life, it's your health, it's your future. And it's not only your future, but it's the future of those around you. People will do more for the others than they will themselves. The reason why I started asking about the children is she could have done this dentistry on her own. She's wanted this dentistry on her own. She didn't have enough leverage upon herself to do it because she's taken away from her family or some other resources she'd like to spend the money on.
Right.
But now all of a sudden when I start pointing her towards the children and the impact she can have on others, she found the motivation that fast.
Because that's where you captured her heart.
Yep. It just took a handful of questions. The next thing you know, I'm selling a $20,000 or $30,000 case for a dentist. I don't even know who it is. I've seen the treatment plan. I know the name, but I don't even know who the dentist is. And I closed the case for this dentist.
Imagine there's a few of our audience that if you're for hire as a case presenter, we could probably get you some jobs.
Well, what's funny about that is we offer for your entire audience, we'll offer them 6 free weeks of coaching. They can go to our website, acceleratemypractice.com/offer, put their name and information in there, and then we'll offer them this free coaching in this area so they can get exposed to it, so they can learn it, so we can coach them through it. There's no financial obligation. If they want to hire us for more, that'd be awesome. It'd be great. Sure. But, it's just an offer to be able to help people do more and change more lives. Because my goal is real simple. If I can just help the offices get their patients healthy, the finances will take care of themselves.
That's very true.
It's just about getting patients healthy. That's it.
Amen. No, and that's an amazing, piecing that together for our listeners, because when we find the motivating factor of patients' why, that means everything to them. And as Darren's presented for us today, it's a team approach. It starts with the phone call. It comes into the confirmation. It's communication within the team. It's the front office talking to the back office, talking to the clinical staff. When we really have our huddles and our communication on point, even if the patient walks in and the front office is trained to read their body language, read their communication,
Mm-hmm.
Identify what energy they're coming in with that can then be communicated back to the hygiene team and be communicated back to the doctor team. It's such a powerful, powerful thing. And this is where patients walk out of practices saying this one thing: wow, that practice was different.
Yeah.
I've never experienced that before.
Yep. Yep.
When you can do that, that's when you start getting referrals and new patients, and your phone's ringing off the hook. And that's why we have BlueID to help you with that whole process to keep.
We lost the other half. His
I wonder
internet
what
must have
happened
gone
there.
down. He was doing such a great.
He was doing so great, but he was reminding me of how when technology can support that human connection, the person-to-person connection, then it's doing its job instead of being in the way of that patient personal interaction, which is what technology should never do. And yet it's tempting to let technology become the central focus of the front desk or of our patient interaction. And that should never be the way it is.
No, I agree. What we should, whether it's technology, whether it's a team, whether it's dentistry, it should all augment and lift our patients up. If technology, if the things in the office, if the consultant coming in trying to help you guys is a distraction to taking care of the patient, it doesn't work. Having technology to support and lift up the patient experience to make it better is the whole point. If you have things in your life that are detracting from what's really important, you should get rid of them.
Exactly. Couldn't agree more, Darren. Well said.
We took over for you, so it's all good.
Yeah.
They're amazing. Like I said, I have no idea what just happened, but apparently the universe wanted you to finish that thought. I love it. Well, thank you, Darren, for joining us today. And again, please take advantage of his offer. Free. Did you say 6 weeks of coaching?
Yes.
Our audience, listen to that. 6 weeks. That is amazing. And it's not a sales pitch. It's not a 6-week process to, grab your money. This is a 6-week process to develop a relationship and give you an opportunity to meet with somebody who really does care and has the skills and the talent to take your practice into new heights. And we're also, as in fact, for participating with this, we're giving away a free 30-day service of BlueID, which connects your phones, your front desk. They know who's calling. We can document those. You can literally put in those notes into the patient file so that the whole office then can see that, and it ties it all together. So the next time they call, that pops right up and you can see that. It ties all of this together so beautifully. So BlueID and 6 weeks of coaching with Darren. Merry Christmas, and it's not even Christmas. Any final thoughts, guys?
No, it's such a pleasure to be on with you guys. I always enjoy being around people who think the same way and just want to help drive and grow an industry. And that's obviously what BlueIQ and BlueID is all about, is how can we make ourselves more efficient? How can we use the technology to not get in the way, but instead to lift our patients up? Yeah. And it's just an awesome tool. So great for you guys to be doing this on a weekly basis, and I hope your viewership continues to grow and flourish from the value you guys transfer across.
Well done.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Darren. Thank you, Joseph. We'll be back. Remember, we are in the blue, 9 a.m. Pacific, 12 Eastern, here every Friday with the most killer content to help your practice scale and scale. Have a great week.